Hello and welcome to another little podcast. I say little; these end up being quite big. Podcast, totally unscripted again. I'm sort of just doing these when I feel I should do them. I've had quite the debating day today, so I thought I'd make one, just to discuss how they've gone. I think, to be honest, they may still be ever so slightly going on. Uh, but I'll do my best not to be responding to them while I record this. Otherwise, it'll just turn into a big mess. Um, so oh, earlier today, I suppose how these debates have started is earlier today was the attack at Westminster, um, with a car going along the bridge, knocking I think 10 to 20 people. I'm not entirely sure on all the numbers yet, but I don't think media is entirely sure on all the numbers yet. So this, by the time you listen to this, some of this might be quite outdated. So sorry about that. But yeah, so car went down Westminster Bridge. I'll say 20 people, but I honestly don't know. Knocked down 20 odd people, several police officers, and then a guy's got out the car, stabbed at least one police officer who's now died. Last I heard was there's 4 fatalities, including the attacker, and around 20 people injured. So I'm not here to talk about the attack itself. As you know, as I say, if I was going to do that, I'd at least wait till I had better information. I think it needs to be a few hours before, maybe a few days, to be honest, before we know exactly the play of what happened. What I'm wanting to talk about is what I tend to talk about mostly, which is the reaction on my social media to these things, and sadly, they're painfully predictable. Um, I mean, to the point of as soon as this happened, I know the debates I'm going to be having on social media, um, in the hours to follow, which were all virtue signaling bollocks. Basic. Well, no, they weren't all that actually. That I've had two that have been fairly productive, but no, one that's been fairly productive. Um, but they're all people who are instantly shouting about how um, you can't blame Islam for this or anything like that. And to be fair, as far as we know for fact yet, I don't know if there's any indication this was an Islamic attack. And what I mean by that is, at the point of me recording this, no one's come out and said that's what it was or anything. Um, we still don't know the attacker's identity and things like that. Or publicly, we don't know the attacker's identity. Um, though, let's be real. I might eat my words, but I doubt it. This was an Islamic attack. Just like pretty much every other major attack in Europe over the last few years. But anyway, so the debate has popped up, sort of like how good Islam is, and it just isn't. It it simply is not. Um, and yeah, and no one thinks it's controversial when you say creationism's a pile of shit. You know, no one's like, oh my god, you can't say that. Well, not anymore, anyway. Um, but people instantly fear that you're being racist or whatever when you mention Islam. Now, let's just be clear about something from the off. Islam is not a race; it is an ideology. You can be black and white and still be Islam. Still be Islam. Still be a Muslim. You can, um, come from the Middle East. You can come from America. You can come from Southeast Asia, and it is not a race. Let's just get over that now, if we can. Um, it's a set of ideas, and as a set of ideas, it should be able to be scrutinized. um, and I find it wanting, to be quite honest. Um, just like every other religion, but instantly people are drawing comparisons to, but what about the Crusades? They were bad. Yes, they were. No one's saying they weren't. Um, although, no, saying that there is an. I won't do it now, but there is an interesting argument to say maybe they weren't that bad. I'm not sure I subscribe to the argument, but it's interesting. That's all I'm saying. Um, so uh, when people are saying like, "Oh, the Crusades," you need to get past that. That was 1,000 years ago. Too soon? No, come on. It was 1,000 years ago. Christianity is not like that anymore. I'm sure if it could be, I'm sure if it had the power to be, it might want to be like that, but it's not. Um, Making the comparison, saying, well, some Christians have killed abortion doctors or whatever. It's not comparable. Those things are bad as well. It's not comparable. That's the thing that gets me actually. What they seem to be saying a lot of time is, look, the Crusades or the abortion killing or whatever, they're bad. Therefore, Islam's okay. No, they're both bad. Um, but let's be real, one is fucking worse. Um, you've got whole swathes of the planet which is consumed by Islamism, and those places aren't places you would want to live. Um, Especially as these people constantly claim they're concerned for women's rights and stuff. So I've seen people today like complaining about so, well, remember when the French police arrested that woman on the beach because she was wearing a hijab or something? And I'm quite happy to say, well, yeah, that's bad. That's not behaved. Stop it. I don't want the West turning into that. I don't want to be policing people's clothing or anything. But I'm sorry, that is not comparable to what has happened today in Westminster or what's happened repeatedly in France or in was it Germany at Christmas at the market. Um, these things are not the same. They're not comparable. A woman was badly inconvenienced. Maybe if you want to go further and as people have and sort of say sexually assaulted, I wouldn't go that far myself, but what happened on that beach was bad with that lady. But I'm sorry, it wasn't a lorry driving through a crowd of people. It wasn't the same. It wasn't a car steaming along the bridge, knocking everyone down. Now, yes, I will accept that. Of course, not all Muslims committed. I mean, you couldn't have fit them in the car for a start. So, of course, not all Muslims did it. It was one man, but you've got to look at why this man did it, what the thought process was behind him, and as has turned out in several of these, especially the shooting in the Pulse nightclub in Orlando. Um, this guy had been going to a mosque that had been a bit off, somewhat radicalizing. Um, it's not. What I'm saying is, these people haven't done this and happened to be Muslim. These people did this because of. Um, Now, I'm not saying there weren't any other factors or anything like that. I'm sure there were. Um, but shitty things happen to other people and they don't go and do this. Uh, oh, it's difficult, isn't it? Because my fear, I'm not really scared of it anymore, but the constant threat is you'll be branded as, well, as I said, normally a racist, wrongly, um, for saying these sort of things. But the thing is, every time the left refuses to acknowledge what it is that's doing this, why this is happening, and instead puts up a defense of it, you are driving people to the right. Every time the left does this, the right gets a recruitment boost. Um, and the left really needs to fucking behave over this. You need to face reality. All cultures aren't equal. I'm sorry, just fuck off. The West is the best. um, but you know, when people say, and one of my arguments today was how it's like worse to live in Britain as a woman than it is to live like in Saudi Arabia or Yemen or something. I think, how have you come to that? How is that even part of the conversation? How did gender creep into it? That's what fucks me up more than anything. These people are so obsessed with it that anything becomes about it. Um, it really didn't have any place in that argument. But if we're gonna discuss gender and these things, I'm sorry, Islam doesn't come off well. I mean, women's rights in any Islamic country are bollocks. They're really not very good. Some are better than others, but they're all shit. Um, but to think that in places where women will be murdered by the state for not covering their skin enough is comparable to a woman living in Britain. And they're not even saying it's comparable. They're saying living in Britain is worse. How? How have you come to that conclusion? And again, how is it even part of the discussion from what's happened today? That really boggles my mind. Um, and I don't know. I think it's just really fucking sad. Um, and oh God, I'm sorry, but in some of these states that they're talking about, um, just me disagreeing with them uh, wouldn't go well for them. Thank God you live in, well, not God, but thank God you live in Britain, um, because you can say those things. You can disagree with me like that. You can say living in Britain is worse than living in Yemen or something, because the the state won't put you to death. There won't be roaming gangs looking for you or anything like that. And that's because we are better than that. I mean, just the simple fact that you can try and make the argument should disprove what you're saying. Uh, but yeah, oh God, I don't know. People saying like, this was another one. Although we got blocked pretty quick, so it didn't turn out to be much of a debate. But sorry, I don't have the exact text of it here because I can't see it any longer. But it was. I'm seeing if I can find it in a sneaky way. I don't want to. I don't want to misquote, and I might accidentally do that, and I don't want to. And no, I can't seem to find it. But it was something along the lines of we shouldn't be asking people to integrate into our society. We should start integrating into theirs, um, for true tolerance or something like that. And that just bewildered me. Um, and it's like, you know, this wouldn't happen if we had an open door policy on immigration. Are you sure? I think it probably would. Um, I don't get that argument that like having controls on immigration is bad, because let's face it, anyone saying that, I'd be pretty confident in saying anyone saying that does have an a sort of immigration policy when it comes to their own home. So can I just walk into their house, and if I do so, are they okay with that? And then can I just start consuming their resources and feeling like I have a right to do that? I don't think they'd be happy. I think they'd at least want to know some background information on the person who has just decided to move into their house. I know this is very simplistic, but I think it's the only way to really discuss it with them. Um, yeah, but I have a very, very strict immigration policy when it comes to my home. Um, and a country's just a bigger version of that, really. Uh, and I want to be, well, I mean, I'm proud to come from a country that will welcome people in, and if we can give them free healthcare and things like that, I'm proud of that. I think that's great that we live in a society that does those things. But I think we should be careful with it. And this is the other thing as well. You'll have people my age and a bit older and certainly younger, who I think have a point when they complain about how hard it is to buy a house. I mean, there is generations of people who have basically been barred from being able to do that, and that's awful. That's terrible. And we have a housing crisis. Um, how many homes can we actually get for people to even live in? But at the same time, you want open borders, let as many people in as want to come, and oh, they're just so inconsistent. Do you not think your housing issue might get worse, or your job hunting issue might get worse? It's perfectly okay, and it just simply is not racist for the government of a country to actually give a shit about the people who live in their country. Um, and put those people like when people like, oh my god, Donald Trump was saying put America first. Well, he was running for president of the United States, so I would expect him to be putting his own nation first. Wouldn't it be weird if he was putting Brazil first? Wouldn't that, you know, sort of not be his job? Um, so yeah, I've had such a difficult time in these debates there, and not because it's been hard to debate, but because I seem to be debating against people who almost insist upon being inconsistent with their viewpoints, and also um, seem to be almost fanatic about not fact checking. I mean, that's really amazed me today. Um, there were some claims that I've seen today where, oh, for example, where people have said, we're not a Christian country. Now, I'll just put my cards on the table. I'm not a Christian. And why I say that is because I think this is one of the pieces of confusion I've had with someone today. We are a Christian country. It's part of our legal system. It's part of our governmental system. Our head of state is also head of the church. Um, there are numerous things you can demonstrate that we are certainly culturally we are a Christian country, but in certain laws we are a Christian country, and they're insisting that no, we have separation of church and state, and no, we don't. Now, while religion doesn't really play much of a role in legislation and the day-to-day governing of the country, it is technically there. They're insistent it wasn't, and you can you can prove it. You can demonstrate it. You can pull up the legality of it. Um, you can explain it. And none of that mattered to them. And then they just kept insisting that we're not, even to the point of when he recognised that a percentage of the House of Lords is by default held by the Church of England. And he countered that rightly with, well, that's why we have the House of Parliament as well, to as a counterbalance sort of thing. And yeah, oh, yeah, I'm fine with that. But then surely he's accepting that then the church has a say in government. And then he was like, no, it doesn't. And so just the inconsistency, was able to recognize that it does until I asked him, and then he said no. Oh, it's so fucking weird. Um, but I think he's been confused by, because I've pointed out that it is, or more, well, sorry, more accurately, I've pointed out that we don't have a legal separation of church and state in this country. He's assumed then that like I'm like a born again Christian or something, and I was just, that was strange. Um, I did not understand where he was coming from, but more importantly, he didn't seem to understand where he was coming from, and didn't understand that. So that was tough. Anyway, I don't know if you'll have even seen these, because they were on mostly on other people's Facebooks. I don't think it's even been on my own Facebook page today at all. Actually, I seem to scare people off sometimes from my own one. So yeah, well, anyway, so the attack. Uh, as I say, we don't know what ideology has driven this attack yet, but I think we can guess. Um, I might be surprised. I've seen a few people say it was. Well, I say a few people. One person with a few people chiming in on their page, um, saying how it's clearly a. Hang on, let me find it. Was it Dale? Was it Dale? Yeah. It's a Brexit plot to ensure we leave Europe. I think basically saying it's an inside job. Um, I'm not sure why the Brexiters would need to plot to leave Europe. I mean, we had a vote and it went their way. Um, Article 50 is getting triggered next week. Or was it today? No, it was next week. Um, I think it was next week. Anyway, um, so yeah, I don't really know why some Brexiter would need to do those things. That seems really odd. Um, and then there's another one here. Is it Emma? Oh fuck, where is it? Sorry, I saw it a second ago. I'm just scrolling about trying to find it. uh, oh god, I hate these awkward silences while I search. This is why I really should plan these out more. Um, duh, 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 duh. Oh, it. If there was any more need, if there was any more need, that's bad English. I hate reading it. When I read them in my head, it's not too bad sometimes. It, if there was ever, I've inserted that word. That's not. I'll read it how it should be said. If there was ever more need for social justice and intersectional, God, fuck me. This is a first. If there was ever any more need for social justice and intersectional communism, I'm really gonna have to like look up what that even fucking means. Intersectional communism, then the events in Westminster today. He said London, but he mean, yeah, all right. I can't think of it. What does that mean? Right, the event. So the events in Westminster, guy driving along in a car, smashes a load of people up, stabs a police officer, gets shot, and that's clearly a rally call for more social justice and intersectional communism. What does that mean? Right, I tell you what, I'm going to do this live, as it were. Intersectional communism. What does that mean? Oh, it is actually a thing. All right, so I'll just click the first article. The radical and significant work of early Communist Party members is written out in mainstream history. Erica S. McDuff looked into a especially marginalised group, black women in the United States who joined the Communist Party. His studies range from News Campbell was first black woman to join 1923 to later figures. Oh, fucking hell. Right, this is long. This is long. Is there like a teal deer version? Oh, I don't know. I think it's this type of communism really is inclusive. I think that's what it's trying to be. Oh, I can buy a book on it for $15.99. I think I won't. Inter intersectional socialism is a link to it. I'd assume that's basically the same thing, but oh, it links me back to the same page. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, so I did say, I suppose I thought it would be the same thing. Okay, well, whatever. I am waffling on this one, probably a lot more than the first one, so I apologise. It normally takes me, like, I found this with the first podcast I did. I only kind of got into the swing of things about 20 minutes in, and I'm currently, oh shit, I'm 26 minutes in. Christ, all right. Shows how much that I've waffled. So yeah, anyway, I think the point of this one, what I want to say the most, really, is you know every time the left start coming out in defense of really horrendous shit, you send people to the right because most people don't think like you. I am someone who considered myself someone of someone on the left for basically my whole life. Um, I'm not sure, like as a school kid or anything really counts because you learn a lot more later. But um, someone who uh, I mean, complete support for women's rights and men's rights for that matter. Um, people's rights. There we go. And that, yeah, people's rights says it correctly. Human rights. And I don't care if you're black, white, gay, straight, whatever, man, woman. You're a human, therefore you should have rights. And I'm fine for absolutely everybody to have the same rights, and I want those rights to be pretty good, as long as they don't infringe on other people's rights, essentially. Um, and I'm absolutely cool with that. And that's for the longest time why I would have considered myself someone on the left, because I was under a very, very mistaken belief. And I think a lot of people are now, certainly when I've sort of worked this out and then I look at other people and how they think things are. I think it's easy to think of anyone on the right. You instantly have this, oh, they're a right winger. And right winger is said as a slur, it's said as an attack in itself. Um, as if you've called someone a cunt. And that's not right. They're just the other side of the house, as it were. Now, then you've got to look at, if you want to support this claim that the the left are pro these things and the right are sort of anti them. Well, have a look at their track records. I'm just going from the UK here. The left constantly talk about these things. but never seem to actually get them done. Where the right often debate these things, which I think gets interpreted as people being against, and some people are. But I think just having the debate gets interpreted as like an attack. So you're having a debate on gay marriage, and people see that as an attack on the idea, and I think that's wrong. But yeah, it'd be easy to say, well, does it even need debate now? And I'd sort of be on side there. Well, no, it shouldn't really need a debate. We should do it. But I don't see a harm in having a debate and letting people voice their opinions on it. And after all, if people have got bad opinions on it, I'd rather know who they were. Um, so I think when the left says it as a vote winner, vote for us because we care about women, or we care about gays or transgender, or whatever it is. Um, but then you see the governments that got these things done, and they tend to be right. They tend to be the Conservatives. Um, you know, I, I don't think it's like 100% track record of that, but look at the female prime ministers. We've had two, and they've both been Conservative. So there's 2-0. Um, and when you see like the left, I can't remember a bloody name. That was an MP. Oh, what's a fucking name? I will. Do you know what? I'm gonna find it just so you can look her up. Oh, that I found a picture of it. The fuck's her name? Da, da, da. Jess Phillips. That's her name. Jess Phillips. Fucking oh. So when she's like having a go at women not being able to get anywhere, and about the glass ceiling and things like that. One, she's saying that as an elected member of parliament herself, who she is a woman, and clearly can get there, and is complaining about it to a female prime minister who was answerable to the Queen, who was, well, and the people obviously, but the Queen, who is a female head of state. Um, but she'll just talk utter bullshit. Oh shit! Go away, go away. Yeah, she'll just talk utter crap. For example, and you can find this of it. She's a video over on Sky News. I think it's Sky News. Complaining about all the people who didn't send her rape threats. And she's considered like going to the police about people who didn't threaten to rape her. That's weird. But anyway, that's a side. Other people, like, if you want to check out some good videos of that, Sargon of Akkad's got some great ones. But anyway, yeah. So when people say, "Oh, you're a horrible right winger" or whatever, I think in their head what they mean is you're a racist, you're a misogynist, you're a homophobe, or whatever. But then look at the governments that do loads of shit to actually get stuff done for these groups, and it doesn't tend to be Labour. So that's a misconception. I think that probably should be addressed more often. Is that just because a party's on the right side of politics doesn't make them bad? I think it's easy to go because people go, well, look at Hitler, he was on the right, and yes, he was. He was the fascists were sort of the extreme right. But you could look at Stalin and go, well, he was on the extreme left. and Stalin killed a lot more people. So, yeah, I wouldn't worry about that. Now, right, I'm going to end this here. It's not going to be as long as my other one. Because honestly, I don't really know what to talk about. So much of this is still very fresh, just sort of happened. Sure, I'll have more to talk about in a few days. Oh God, stop it! Yeah, another person here, just as I've clicked back on my Facebook, talking about how this was clearly about Article 50, and this is why we shouldn't do it. I honestly, I don't really see the connection. But if let's just say for a moment, let's just entertain them and say there is a connection, that this is entirely about Article 50. You know what we should do as a result of a terror attack in regards to it? Absolutely nothing. We should not change our course at all. Not because I'm suddenly, hey, let's leave Europe or anything like that, because I will not abide terrorism influencing our policies. You do not get to change the government's mind by killing people. The only way that I think it's sort of acceptable for the government to change a policy about people getting killed is in order to strike back. You know, say if a country launched a missile at you or something, yeah, okay, change policy in the way of we're now going to war with you, but don't change policy by going, okay, we'll do whatever your demands are. No, fuck off. It's quite sad actually, because I'm pretty confident this will have nothing to do with Article 50. As I say, I might be eating my words, but I'm pretty confident it won't be. But it's quite sad to see how many people have jumped on this bandwagon of just doing anything to try and stop that happening. It's really quite silly. It's quite depressing. So, as I said, I'm going to go. But if you're still here this far in, and this is why I don't do this at the beginning, because most people won't listen to this far in. The thing with the people have debated with today, or certainly the bad debates, where they've just been fucking shit. There's something really interesting about them, and I've noticed this for about 2 years now. Whether it be sort of the social justice, third wave feminism, certainly the communism shit. They all have, from what I can see, something in common. And not just from the people I've had these debates with. When I watch YouTube videos or whatever of other people debating with these sorts of people, they all do seem to have something in common. And I feel this is so lowbrow of me to do, but I've got to say it. I've sat on this for like 2 years not saying it. I've got to say it. They're all really fucking hideous. I know it's, oh God, I mean, I'm not saying the best looking person in the world or anything, but Jesus Christ. What is it about being horrendously ugly and thinking in this way? There's just got to be a connection. You don't find really good looking people a part of this bollocks. There's got to be a connection. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Thanks for listening. Tune in again when I berate other people for how they look. Okay, goodbye.